Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm Cindy Daychuck with Queen Bee Creations. Thanks for joining me today. We are going to start off by painting. And what we're going to paint is actually something I was gifted with. So a customer who, she comes to the store every time to buy things. And every time she comes, she brings me something. It's kind of like you're going to somebody's house and you bring a gift. And she's lovely. So she brought me this bread box. Now I know that bread boxes aren't necessarily a thing for all of us anymore, but I know that there are people that still do use them, and I also think they're very practical for storing away other things. So we're gonna zhuzh it up a little bit. And in particular, I have been wanting to try the new IOD inlay. So this is the Delft pattern in Noir, in black. It's just the black one. It comes in blue as well, which is a little bit more traditional of the Delft stuff, but I thought that would be super cute on this, and another good example for using the inlays. And I know that I still have customers that are scared of these things, and I want to show you how easy they are to use. We're gonna do it, rather than doing it in black and white, meaning painting this white and doing the black inlay on top, we're gonna use Apothecary. So we're gonna do a nice, soft, farmhousey green kind of color, which I think is in keeping with this. And then we're gonna zhuzh it up with the inlays. So all I'm gonna do off camera, because it's painting, I'm just taking an old brush, painting it on. I'm using the DIY clay-based paint. So here's the thing. This does not have a built-in sealer. So the process that we'll go through with this today is not the same as if you were doing this with an all-in-one paint like my Fusion line. That requires a little bit of a difference in here, and I'll talk about it as we go as it relates to the inlay. But the first step is the same regardless of the paint. Get on your first coat. So that's what I'm doing, and then we'll come back when it's time for the second coat. I don't know if it'll be today or not. This is my last day before vacation. So you're gonna see this after vacation, but it also means it's been busy in here. I think people all know I'm leaving and they wanna get their stuff before I'm gone. So I'm hoping I can at least get one coat on beforehand. We'll see how it goes. All right, this is dried. Let me just maybe extend my workspace a little bit with the drawer. This is dried. So to do the paint inlay, and here we have, I'm thinking this on this. What I want to do is first trim away. You can see there's kind of a border around it. I want to trim away the base of this border so that it goes down flush to my piece. And I'm thinking I'm going to do this on both sides. So there's 2 sheets of this. I will have extra of it. So if I do this, oh, the flowers go both directions. Queen, did I have it the right way? All right. If I take it over to here, I just want to kind of trim away some of the excess so that when I apply it, I'm not getting the pieces that I'm not using all wet. So because I'm using a paint without a built-in sealer, my process is pretty straightforward. I am going to lightly mist this. So I've just got a misting bottle. I'm just gonna lightly mist it. You could skip this step, but I find that it just activates the paint better. I mean, the paint on the carrier sheet, right? Because this has got artist grade paint. And in essence, what we wanna do is we want to embed the artist grade paint on our inlay into our paint, or we could use like a top coat, a polyacrylic top coat embedded in, or into a wet paint with a polyacrylic top coat. However, bear in mind that anything, the top coats are going to react differently than this paint with no top coat in it, because I can reactivate this paint with some water, whereas the top coats, once they're dry, they're dry. And if you let them dry fully with your inlay, your inlay is stuck. So I'm just going to now take my inlay. This is a little awkward. I'm going to take my inlay. And why do I think I'm doing this in the direction I didn't intend? Because I did intend for it to go this way. Right, because I've got a little rim on this side. So what I'm looking to do is to lay this out relatively flat on this surface. And you can take, any kind of a squeegee tool, or you could take a brayer and bray that on. As I'm saying that, I'm going, oh, I like my brayer. Where is that? It's elsewhere right now. Okay, so you could take a brayer, and I'll get it for the next side. But you want this nice and firmly adhered. You want it to be embedded into that surface. Once you have that, lightly mist it again. And you want that to kind of engage that paint so that it's going to blend with yours. Because I have no top coat, I'm going to leave that to dry thoroughly. So I can flip that around and go on and do the same thing on my other side. And these surfaces all have to get a second coat of paint on them. So I'm going to take a look at them and see, okay, what other small designs in here, because we're using these two sheets of the florals, but I've got long strips that would maybe go across the front and things. So I've got some smaller designs I could use on the front versus using these big sheets. So I'm just going to cut this one down and do the same thing on this side, and then be able to make some decisions. Make some decisions about what I want to do on the front. So once again, we just want to get our paint on our surface, and you don't want to be super skimpy. You don't want this to just be such a thin layer that there's no paint to embed your inlay into, right? So we want to have a bit of that happening. I'm just misting my inlay first so that that paint is kind of activated. Oh, and now I have to kind of guess where I'm going to put it. And the grid lines definitely help to kind of line things up. All right. Now, I do want to put some on the inside, but I need all the outside stuff to be dry first. So now we want the inlays to dry thoroughly. And this is the part that's different about using a paint with no top coat, is I want this to dry. So I want my paper to go opaque again, and then I can come back and I can work on the next section. And I just want to get all that part done before I would, before I look at doing the inside, rather than trying to keep everything wet at the same time. As luck would have it, this wasn't dry before I left for vacation. So it's been sitting in the shop for 10 days. So let's consider this an experiment. if you can leave these, these paint inlays on. Now this is an unsealed surface. Remember, we were using a DIY clay paint, but we're gonna see how it does. So to release these, we want to mist them again, and you can see them going kind of opaque again. It really brings it out. We want to mist it to kind of reactivate the paint so that when we go to peel the inlay off, we're going to leave some of that paint behind, and it helps to get the paper unstuck. So we're going to leave it for about 20-30 seconds. Oh, let me just, while I'm talking, might as well get the top going as well, kind of soaking in. And we'll see how it goes. Fingers crossed on this one, gang. All right. And you know what? That's working just fine. So I've always said that when you don't have a sealer on your paint, you could walk away and leave this for a couple of days. Well, we can even leave it for well over a week. Now, we want to save this, so I'm leaving it paint side up to dry because it's still got paint on that carrier sheet, right? You can see it's still got the impression. Now, it's not as dark. You can see where this wasn't adhered. So my using it a second time will be lighter, but it will still work. Oh, I didn't quite get that edge. That looks awesome. All right, so thank goodness, but that worked perfectly. So when you're working with like a chalk paint or a clay paint, something that doesn't have a built-in sealer, you can walk away and leave this. And if you don't get back to it for 10 days, you're fine. I'm gonna get this removed from all the other pieces, and then I'm gonna let it dry. So before we move on to the next step with this, we want this to dry thoroughly again. So let's get going with that. Now that this is dry, I want to seal this. I've kind of lightly sanded around the image. You know, where I had the extra paper, it sort of forms a bit of a halo around my image. And I just like to take my sandpaper and just kind of lightly sand those areas, and I find that that halo kind of softens and blends in better. Now I want to wax this piece. The other thing I found with the inlay is that the paint of the inlay is a little bit more reactive. It reactivates with water, which allowed us to be able to remove the paper. And if I'm really rubbing wax on, I may smear this. And something like this is so detailed, I really don't want to risk that. What I like to do is just take a really light coating of an acrylic top coat. And I'm just kind of giving a very light finish to where my inlays are, so that as I go to add wax, and I'm going to go grab my clear wax, and I'm going to lightly brush that on, which deepens this color. I just find that little bit of a polyacrylic spray just helps seal that in place. So I'm going to get this waxed up so that it can dry, and tomorrow we can take a better look at it. Here you can see I'm just taking an old chip brush and I am applying my wax. You'll see that I'm not rubbing vigorously. I'm just laying a light coat of wax over top. And because the DIY wax is so soft, it's doing this without any lumps or anything. I'm trying to spread it. I'm still trying to be a little bit gentle. But I don't want a lot of excess because I am not going to wipe the excess away. I'm going to apply my wax and then I'm going to leave it to dry overnight. Now that this has had overnight to dry, I can take just a clean cotton rag and I can buff it up and smooth it out. I didn't want to wipe away the excess wax last night when I'd applied it. Usually I will do that. Instead, I really made an effort not to have an abundance of wax or more wax than I needed on the piece so that I didn't have any lumps drying. And the reason is because I wanted to ensure that this was set. If I took my rag and I had wiped away the excess wax, I didn't want to risk smearing my design. And I'm perfectly fine now to be able to rub as hard as I want. This is all sealed. My wax has dried enough that I can do this and I can get it buffed out. But you end up with just a cute little bread box. We put a little emblem on the inside as well from this. And again, an unexpected but good experiment on the application of the inlays. Truly, you can, if you're doing this on a chalk paint, you're doing it on a clay paint, you're doing it on a paint that does not seal, so it does not have a built-in sealer. Once you've applied the inlay, man, you can walk away for quite a few days. We tested 10. I didn't intend to test it, but I did end up testing it. So I walked away for 10 days leaving them on the piece, and they removed perfectly. I hope that this one gives you an idea of what you can do with your bread box if you have one, but certainly another example of just kind of applying the inlays. I've found that I get the best result if I spritz them first, apply them, and then spritz them again, let them dry thoroughly, then you spritz them with water, leave them for about 30 seconds and peel off. And perfect adhesion. I love these new little Delft patterns. I love this one. I would buy more packs just to have more sheets of this. I love that all over pattern and look, but a lot of the trim work and things. Hope you give the inlays a try. I think that, I know I've got a lot of customers that they scare the heck out of, but with this new release, we've got inlays that, work as little pieces of trim, they're for smaller projects. You can do them on candlesticks, on vases, things like that. Give those a go. It's just paint. You can paint over them if you need to, but they're just such a great little tool, and you can distress them as well. It's just paint, y'all. Let me know what you think of this one. Let me know if you've given the inlays a try or intend to give them a try. But hopefully this helps if you haven't and you jump right in. Looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, take care.